Hi guys, this is Mohit Mosani from Screenbench.com, and today we have Harry Lowell, who is a TV series producer, and we're gonna ask him some questions, and we'll try to make it unconventional, and we'll also not ask him annoying questions that people just keep on asking him. This is one insight that I got, that celebrities just get sick of answering the same questions again and again. How did you begin? How did you start? Did you have a spark for it? And this and that and blah blah. What inspired you? And this and that. So let's get down to business, right? So first of all, I'd like to tell you about Screenbench. Screenbench is hold on a second. Screenbench is basically a platform where we are a group of individuals, not in the same country. We're like spread out across the world. Like one of my partners is in Canada, someone is in Morocco, someone is in Malaysia, and so on. So what we're doing over here is we connect digitally, right? And we've come up with a streaming solutions website where we put down movie reviews, entertainment news. The most important thing that a lot of people need is how to bypass geo-restricted content, right? Let's say you make a very nice series and it's not available in Pakistan, then how am I gonna watch it? So we teach people how to bypass these geo restrictions and watch the content that they want. And a lot of people want to watch sports events, right? It's not just TV series or stuff like that. People want to watch sports events, but unfortunately it's not available in their country because of licensing deals and this and that. So our platform and our basic motto is to provide streamers a way out to just watch, to, as the name says, Screenbench, to binge watch everything to the maximum. Like whatever you want to watch, we're gonna whatever you want to watch, we're gonna provide you a solution to do that. Now, no matter what device you have, you're using a Roku, you're using a Fire Stick or whatever, we got that covered. So that's how we do our thing, and it's helped a lot of people, and we do get a lot of emails from people where Hollywood is basically not so present, basically, of course, because that's bad business for producers and licensing people to gain the distribution rights for a country where there is very small viewership, right?
I mean, the point of distribution is to get your film or TV series viewed by as many people as possible. So your goal is to try and get it worldwide. And I think that no matter how small, I know that there are South American countries that are very, very tiny, but it's still important that your content reaches people. So I think Pakistan should be on people's list. Their distributors should be selling to those, countries and making sure that that content is, getting out to the audiences that want to see it.
Exactly. I do agree with you, but it's not just with Pakistan. There's a long list of countries. Like you can't watch Australian channels in the US, and people in Australia can't watch US channels, right? So maybe they want to watch their favorite series or something like that, and so that's about it. We tell them how to bypass all that. So Harry, I won't make this interview scrambled egg for you. I'll just come straight to the point and ask you, and try to ask you some very different questions. Okay, so what's the difference between being a film director and a TV series director? You're a TV series director, right?
Well, I'm a producer and director, right?
Right.
And they're very different. So, you know, a film director is, to summarize those two things you talked about, the film director is in charge of the entire film, right? So the
Right.
vision, the look, the casting, everything runs through the director. They have a particular point of view, and
Right.
that is the person you're going to see the film. So they're more of an author. When you talk about TV series, really it's the executive producers who are the showrunners. They're the ones who are working with the writers. They're crafting a series over, many, many episodes. And a director is hired to help bring to life one or two of those episodes per season. So a director kind of comes and goes between. The series is held together in TV by the executive producers because they're the ones who craft the story, the how many seasons it's going to be, how long it's going to, how the arc of the season goes, and you bring in the right directors for each episode that is necessary. So there's a very big difference in terms of the director's role and responsibility. If you're a TV director, you have to come in and adapt your directing style to better match the series that you're blending into, because people are comfortable with a particular set of actors, storylines, and so if you're coming in on episode 10, you have to make sure that your directing style matches the tone, the feel, the look, and what's been established by the TV series already. Whereas a film, you get to create that from scratch because it is a one-off specific project that you as a director get to kind of make that world up as you see fit.
So, being a TV director, basically, TV series director basically means that the series is gonna, run for a longer period of time. So, you'll have to work much more, right?
No, because again, you don't have one director that usually goes for the entire series. So a director comes and goes freelance. So you only, if you look at a TV series, you will have 5 or 6 different directors.
The seasons. Right.
Well, they change more than that. They change with the episodes. Yeah.
Oh.
So you are
that
constantly
much.
bouncing from show to show.
Oh.
Most of the time, because the episodes have to happen financially one after the other very quickly. So the person in control of it are producers, right? We are the showrunners. So we have to figure out normally there's 13 episodes. So you will have a director do episode 1 and then maybe episode 5 because he can only develop and direct so many. And then you'll have another director doing episode 2 and episode 6. So that way they will have at least 2 or 3 shows that they'll be directing, but it won't be all of them. You really want your first few shows to be very, very controlled so that you are setting the tone for how the show feels and looks and moves and the pacing. And then other directors will be able to understand and copy and understand the way that series needs to be developed moving forward. So you will only work on a few episodes. They may bring you back the next season because, your timing might work, your availability might work, and your storytelling might work. But if you look at TV, you have many, many throughout the many seasons.
I see.
Did I lose you?
Yeah. So, Harry, you've you're also reached for advice on how to sell your content to Hollywood and all that, right? So let's get to that. Would you like to get to that? Because I have some solid questions.
Sure.
Yeah. So one of my most favorite my most favorite question over here is because I write fiction as a passion, not as job. So what I mean, who buys literary work in Hollywood, and how do you sell literary work in Hollywood?
First of all, I want to say I love that you write fiction just for you. That's what I think is really great about writers is that they have a compulsion, a passion to just write. They can't stop themselves. And that's the sign of a really good writer is this is something that they must do. They feel good about it. It's something that they feel compelled to do. So hats off to a lot of writers because they have to sit with an empty page and create
So
something out of
much.
nothing. It's pretty amazing.
So much.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
writers are crucial. It's the lifeblood of Hollywood, right?
Uh-huh.
Entertainment, whether it's a film or a TV show, if you don't have great characters, if you don't have a great storyline,
Mm-hmm.
no one's going to watch it or engage in it, right? So it's the
Right.
most important thing. If you are a literary writer, right? Let's say you have a book or something
Uh-huh.
like that,
Uh-huh.
and you want to get that out to Hollywood, or you're not in the Hollywood, world, and you're
World.
outside of it, writing other things,
Of
magazine
course.
article, anything else. You
Yeah.
think you have something that might be a good TV show or film. I think the first thing you need to do is do your homework. I always tell
Uh-huh.
people that you have to find out what you really have to sell. What are you offering everybody from a producer's, what are producers going to see when you sent that package?
Uh-huh.
And what you need to make sure you understand is, well, what are you really selling? Give yourself a log line. What is your content about? Talk about, think about what else you have in your package that would be appealing. Has it won awards? Do you have a big audience or a big following? Has it been translated into many languages, whatever your work is? What
Right.
else are you offering to sweeten the package so that if their producer wants to look at your book or something you've written, especially if it's like a literary perspective, that
Mm.
they can say, oh, there's more to it here. There's already built-in audience, or it's already got an international audience, or, there's something else here that makes it extra interesting for them to also look into your creative. I think that's going to
Right.
be the first part, is knowing what you have to sell.
Exactly. So you basically have to be a good salesman.
Yeah, it's all about the pitch, right? So, I mean,
It's
I,
all
I
about
speak
the
a lot
pitch.
about pitching,
Yeah.
and ultimately you have to really, um,
Uh-huh.
you know, you're going to be trying to take something that you really believe in
Right.
and convince someone else that this would be great for them. And I think part of that homework when you're pitching is making sure you understand what the buyer is, what they're dealing with, what they want, what you think
Exactly.
they really use, and getting into that mindset. And, we can talk
Mm.
about agents and literary agents, but at the end of the day, the person buying it is going to be a producer. It's going to be someone like
Exactly.
me. It could be a
Uh,
Disney producer, it could be an independent producer, but the
yeah.
point is you need to find out, well, what are their struggles? What are they looking for? And how can I, pitch them in a way that makes them feel like they want to go to the next step and continue to talk about it.
Exactly. That makes me think like you gotta approach those people that when you go with your content to them, it's gonna make them tick, and they're gonna be like, "Oh, I'm interested in this." So
Hmm.
like everybody has different interests, right? And all our lives we somehow or the other do chase them. So I think you have to sell to the right person. That's what I
I
learned
agree.
today. Okay, so what producers want and need in the television and film industry, everything from genre to the number of characters can make or break the deal. That's what you say. So what do you mean by that? In fact, I don't know. I'll get you over here first. Talking about fiction, uh, the problem with my fiction is that it's really, really dark, right? So uh, there are very few platforms that would, want to publish that. So I don't know if anybody can relate with that or not, but uh, they liked my piece and everything. But what they did was they changed the names of the uh, characters. There were two main characters. Uh, it was in basically a incest story based on two sisters who were like
Yikes.
really old, and it's short, but it's a whirlpool because each and every and comma and everything totally changes your perspective of what you're expecting, right? So I tried to use, because I wanted to portray uh, that these women are in their 70s. So I used the names that were popular back in the 70s, and they changed them to the names that are popular right now. So I was like, either change the names back to what they were, or don't publish it at all. Is that a creative thing, or was I just being too harsh?
Well, look, you're talking about a literary work, right? That's what
Yeah.
you're talking about, that they
Yeah.
changed the book name thing. Okay.
No, no,
So
they changed the character's name.
for a book,
Yeah,
for a short story.
for a short
Yeah.
story. Yeah.
So I can't really speak from the literary world why they would do that. It makes a lot of sense when it comes to entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Because authors often have to. One thing that's important to realize is that producers and studios face a lot of challenges, right? Because it's going to take them a long time. They invest a lot of money. There's big budgets involved. There's careers involved. So when you jump into wanting to make something into, let's say, a TV series or a film, you are committing to something that's going to take you years to execute, years to get completed, and that you're going to be tying the rest of your career to it. So you want to make sure that you are making all the right decisions. And sometimes the title of a film or the names of the characters or who's playing those roles will be crucial to distributors, to making your money back, to paying back the investors, to getting your next project greenlit. So
Right.
these are all the things that producers are looking into to try and say, how can I communicate to my audience? An audience responds positively, and we all have jobs next week to continue to work with. So
Exactly.
I don't know why they would change your characters' names in a particular literary perspective,
Yeah.
but I can understand it from a TV perspective because maybe they want to connect to their audience. They've done research to find out that this would be something that would maybe draw in more of an audience from a certain region. So there's usually very specific reasons why they would want to do
Yeah.
that. I don't understand changing a name, how that's beneficial.
Yeah.
But a lot of times I tell writers when we're working with things is, if you fight every single battle for every single thing, you're going to get a reputation of being difficult to work with. You have to know when you should let something go
Yeah.
and get your material out in front of humans, because the more people see your work, especially when you're starting out, the more
Yeah.
people can go, wow, I love his writing. Wow, I really connected to those characters. Even if someone's making a change that you necessarily don't agree with, but if it doesn't destroy your idea, sometimes you can collaborate a bit more. Television and film is all collaboration. We have
And
a
then
lot of
when you
people.
get that name and fame and that authority, then maybe you can fight over the names and everything,
Right.
right?
And I think even then, if you look at, some of the most successful writers, even Stephen King, he doesn't fight over a lot of stuff. I think he, especially in the beginning, they just trusted the filmmakers to do what they thought was right, because I also believe in creating a career, right? Not everything has to be exactly the way you crafted it in your kitchen 10 years ago. I think that in feature films and in TV shows, we collaborate with a lot of people. So what I think I want to do in a show, all of a sudden a costume designer, and then we bring in a director, and then we bring in some actors. They all have really good ideas to add to what the writer has originally created, and we're
Exactly.
able to adapt it into something that breathes life into it. So if you're more open to that, it is a fun collaborative effort, and then you all move on to the next job and the next
Right.
job.
Right.
You create a career that way. If you want to say, I want everything exactly the way I want it, that is more like Broadway. Broadway, the word on the page is gospel. People do not have the ability to shift things, and that's a unique thing. Same with book writing, right? Once you decide to write your book, aside from your editor, ultimately you have control over what you want to say and do. Once you get a collaborative medium like film and TV, hopefully you can find a way to just enjoy the ride, try to find a way to connect with the right filmmakers that you think that share your vision, and then let's see where it goes. And hopefully as films progress, more books are written or more content is created, like you said, you'll have more of an opportunity to get your voice out there, get your stories out there, get more recognition. And I think you don't want to sell to the wrong producers who don't understand your vision, or producers who don't do your genre. The one good thing is if you are working in, let's say, dark comedy or certain kind of niche genres, it was difficult back in the day because there was only so much distribution. Now with streaming and Roku and so many people getting in the game, there's opportunities to tell very different kind of stories.
Exactly.
And smaller stories can now find a home and connect to their audience, which is really exciting.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Very low budget movies are also, nowadays, uh, becoming very popular because of their compelling storylines, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can
So
find an audience now. It used to be you
yeah,
couldn't, only go to your theater and they'd pick 5 or 6 movies and that's all you would see, and you
yeah,
could only go to the few TV networks. Now
yeah,
it is very open. There are very small networks that are willing to air unique comedy if you're into dark comedy or sci-fi or fantasy.
mm.
They will find unique content for you because it's available now, and there's an audience that will support them. It's
Is
great.
that beer? Can I have a glass?
It's just water.
Sure, no vodka.
Yeah, cheers to you, my friend.
Sure, no vodka in there.
That's water.
Water car.
No.
I'm just kidding. Okay, so I did ask you the last question. We just break it down. So, what are producers looking for in terms of genre and the number of characters, and what's this thing about? What's this deal about?
So that's let me unpack. There's a lot of questions there. So I think what's important is that you should look at the writing you do and break it down in terms of if this has to go into a TV or film scenario, a producer is going to break it down this way. They're going to look at the number of characters. They're going to look at the number of locations. They're going to look at anything else that's going to be expensive. Is it a 1930s and we have to
Right.
get all these old cars and wardrobe,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
visual effects? Those are the kinds of things that they have to look at. Not only do they have to love the story, they have to also figure out a way to produce it in a feasible, productive scenario.
Right.
Then you have to look at how you're going to recoup your money and who wants to, distribute this. Then you look at the big picture too, which is, well, what genre is the film in, right? Is it a romantic comedy? Is it an action thriller? Is it a mystery? Those are important because that will help you determine whether you're going to make your money back and whether people are going to give you the money you expect.
Yeah.
As you would guess, for the U.S., in our market, we can do any of those genres in English and we can have a reasonable return. But if you spend too much money on a romantic comedy, it is not going to make that much money in foreign. People don't want to watch talking heads with subtitles or comedies that the jokes only relate to America and don't relate to France or Germany or Pakistan or anywhere else. And so those things don't do as well. They don't sell as well. So you have to understand what your content is and whether it has value in foreign markets. So if it's only valuable in Pakistan or only valuable in the US, then you have to make sure your budget is in line with the fact that you're really only going to make money in those territories. If you are doing a film like a Fast and the Furious, you're doing a film that is exciting and has action, it doesn't have a lot of talking, there's a lot of great action, that's a worldwide opportunity,
Yeah,
right?
everybody can watch it, right? Even if they don't understand the language or anything.
Thrillers, horror,
Yeah.
those genres are always valuable overseas as well as domestically in the US, let's say.
Exactly.
So I think it's important as you're looking at stuff, if you are writing and trying to assume you're going to try and turn it into a TV series, just know that this is what the producers are going to look at. They're going to look at how much will it cost us if we try to bring this story to life, and does it justify the budget? If you're bringing a Harry Potter and it's a huge network and a big producer who does Harry Potter, then they will say, yes, this is valuable. But if you're bringing a romantic comedy, you can't do a Harry Potter budget with a romantic comedy. They will never make enough money for those networks or the film.
That is true.
Yeah.
So you gotta
So I
look
think you have
at
to be
the
aware.
return on investment as well.
Yeah. So it's always good to find
At the
producers
end of
and
the day,
studios who
it
are-
is a business, right? It is a business. So I had a question, but it just slipped my mind. So what's the difference between selling to TV and what's the difference between selling to film?
Film is a unique entity because you really, unless you're selling it to a studio and you're going to do, let's say, an independent film, you really have to commit. It's about a 2-year process once you have the script and once you start doing all of the pre-sales with your distributor, once you're starting to get investors and figuring out a way to finance the film, and then you're going to go into about a year's worth of work to finance the film. So you have to really make sure that one particular film can be sold and recoup the money that you and your investors have put into it, and that it tells the story, connects to an audience, and allows you to then move on with your career. TV is a little bit different And again, there are TV series and there are TV films that are kind of one-offs.
Right.
I love TV series because once a network connects to your TV series and an audience finds it, they want to come back for more. So then you can
Exactly.
come back season after season because
Yeah.
the network, whether it's a Netflix or a A&E or a Discovery Channel, they have connected and found an audience, and now they're looking for that content.
Exactly.
The one thing I like about television is it moves a little bit quicker than
Yeah.
feature films. Feature films take time, and you have many projects in development, but once you're producing something, you're working on that one piece for a lengthy period of time. Television moves a little bit faster. It's kind of more my speed. I like the fact that you can one day be selling a genre that is special effects
Yeah.
and scripted, or turning the corner and saying, let's do an unscripted show about people in Alaska and selling a show about that has a bunch of world travel in it. So, television is and budgets have gotten closer and closer, right? Independent films cost as much as some of the streaming
What's your
TV series stuff.
obsession
So
with Alaska? Huh? Alaska
what about
Steel Man.
Alaska?
Yeah, what's your
Yeah.
obsession with Alaska? Alaska Steel
You
Man,
know,
huh?
I'm not even, obsessed with it. It was just, I love good characters. And so when people brought us those characters and said, hey, you should look at these individuals, it was just, they were fun and interesting and their world was unique. And
Yeah.
I thought it'd be great for us to film something in Alaska with really interesting characters. So that was exciting for us. And that's what I like about television. You can do some really interesting things in a quicker turnaround, and in a same period of time someone may work on one film, you can get many, many shows in production developed, and it's a
Yeah.
different mindset,
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, Harry, I do understand that you have a whole day ahead and you must be having a lot of work to do. So, I won't take much of your time, but would you like to tell me about Wheeler Jonte?
Oh, Wheel
Because,
Gente.
yeah, because that kind of captured my attention a lot.
Mm,
It's a
yeah,
it's in Spanish, so ignore the accent. I tried my best. Yeah.
that was great. Yeah, I had to learn it too. Believe me, my producing partner is Hispanic, and Wheel Gente is a immigration documentary we did that we're really proud of, because at the time in America specifically, we were having a lot of really ugly dialogue about immigration,
Yeah.
and we thought we really would like to show another side to the immigration point of view, right, from the immigrants themselves,
Yeah.
whether they were first generation, brand new, third generation. And so we didn't want to do a political documentary, point fingers. We just wanted to tell some stories from people who are immigrants, happy to be a part of America, what America means to them, what it represented for them, what it
Right.
represented for their families, and the personal storyline. We got an amazing director. My producing partner is Hispanic. Great people, writers who came up with the concept, and I think that ended up telling an amazing story about just American immigrants. And I think it really captured the attention of not only people and audiences in America, but also worldwide, because they were hearing these ugly stories that was going on in the politics of America at the time.
Right.
So it really struck a chord. It was really well received on the film festival circuit,
Yeah.
and then it got a big distribution on Comcast, where it continued to air. And that particular, because it was such a powerful, timely topic, it ended up airing for a lengthy period of time, a large run worldwide in festivals, and then it ended up coming back the next year for Hispanic Heritage Month in the United States, because the message was positive and encouraging, and people were, we're really happy with the casting, because the individuals were willing to express themselves and tell honest stories of them as immigrants, and it really made a difference in the dialogue in the country about immigration. It's one of the more powerful documentaries we're really proud of being a part of.
I see. So it's nice to know that you didn't go into the controversial aspects of the thing and made it something like some content for everybody, instead of people taking sides, whether it's right or wrong, right? Getting my point?
Correct. Yeah. We just want to tell a story of real immigrants and
Yeah,
let other people make the
because some
decision.
people
We
have
just wanted
problem
to
with
open up
immigrants,
dialogue,
some
and I
people
think when you start
don't.
talking,
Some people are very welcoming, right? So it's good to put a unbiased perspective and just show it out and let the people decide. You can't, put a chip in their brain and make them think the way you think or I think, right? So where can you sell literary work to, and to which platforms?
what kind of work?
Where can you sell literary work, and what platforms?
So literary works are obviously, any platform, any network, any studio, streamer is interested in selling and buying literary work that they can turn into a TV series, a 2-hour special, or again, even a theatrical unit. So, you know, again, it goes back to my original comment, which is you have to do your homework. So if you have to look at what you have written as a literary piece, and then find those networks and those producers who are creating that kind of content. They are good at it. They like it. They're interested in that genre. So if you are doing horror, or if you are doing action, or if you're doing romance, I would suggest you find those types of films and those types of TV shows and find out who's distributing them, see what networks are putting them on, and look
Right.
into the producers and see who is doing that, because they know that genre. They love that genre. They know how to make it successful. They are always, we as producers are always looking for really good content. And
Yeah.
especially if you are having content that has something extra, right? Big
Right.
awards or a big audience already, that makes it even more exciting, because if we pick up a project that nobody knows,
Yeah.
we have to try and generate interest in it. But if we pick up a project or a concept that already has an audience that will jump and want to come to the movie or stream the video, then you have something extra to build on. Now you have a much easier case to sell it to your investors and your studios down the road.
In fact, one thing just popped up my mind, that when the buyer knows what you're selling, they since they have a lot of experience in that particular genre, they might even be, uh, uh, able to improvise on your storyline, right?
Improvise how?
I mean, maybe you're going off track in some places, and they can, guide you that let's not go into that place and keep the story flowing in a different direction.
Yeah, I mean, when we work with literary writers,
Yeah.
They have to understand that the producers and the studios will take that and do what they need to make it successful. And they usually, you'll know from the interactions you're having with the producer whether they're respectful and understand what you're trying to tell.
Yeah.
But also, they will be the ones who will be responsible to get this thing sold. It's once it's out of the hands of the writer, very rarely are they going to be, again, unless it's a Stephen King or you're very established, you're going to have to trust those individuals to go and make that story. And they're the ones, and I would tell you, there's a big percentage of the times that they do not happen, even after maybe you have a literary agent or a talent agent, or it gets to a producer and they go ahead and they option a script from you or a project from you. There's still a big percentage that it may not happen, because there's just a lot of things in Hollywood that can derail a project. It can be what's happening in the marketplace. There are too many projects. There could be actor strikes or writer strikes, things like that could derail a project. But ultimately, you want to get it in the hands of the people that believe in your storyline and that you believe can tell a great story. And then you have to give them space to go and do their magic and see what happens. I do suggest to people to use a literary agent or a talent agent, because they will help you navigate that world. If you want to talk directly to producers, that's totally fine. Just make sure you focus on how to pitch, and that you're very concise in how you pitch them, and that it's very, very targeted, to make sure that it actually gets read by the producer and that they will want to look into your book. And then usually you can use a lawyer to help you close the deal if you need to. But a literary agent will help you find producers like us or studios that match your storytelling to the genre and the companies that know how to turn those into film and TV properties.
I see. I see. So, Harry, what turns off a producer? What turns off a producer? What makes them go like, get the hell out of my office?
I've never been like, get the hell out of my office. But one thing that is, for writers especially, is when, know what you're good at and know what you're not good at.
Right.
Writing for literary work is different than writing a TV show. Right. And that is different from writing a feature film. And that is different from writing a 2-hour TV show. Each one is uniquely different, and there are writers who have honed those crafts. So when a writer comes in and demands that they want to direct or write or have final approval on things, it is a non-starter for producers, especially for newer writers. When they have, what they aren't respecting is what the producers and the studio and the investors are bringing to the table, what they are risking, what they are doing, the time, the energy, the money it takes to translate it. We need a success. The investors need a success. The studio, the streamer needs a success. We have to do what is right to make that correct. And oftentimes I think ego gets in the way of some writers, and they blow a deal. I believe you should look at a career, especially in writing, as a stepping stones. So if you have a book that you've turned into something successful, that's an accomplishment. If then that book becomes a TV show or a film, that's another step that you can then add to your arsenal, right? But if you kill the deal before it ever happens, then you are stuck with just this one deal. And that's okay. You don't have to turn your things into film or TV, but the goal is film and TV is collaborative. Writers do they have one writer, he writes a book. When you make a film, you see all those credits at the end of the movie, all those people collaborating collectively to make that film. It's very different than what writers experience. And you need to realize that you're not going to be the final say. It's never going to be the way you completely envisioned it. Hopefully you can be relaxed and enjoy the ride and enjoy the experience as your career grows and learn from that situation, right? If you make the next film someday on your next book, you'll learn what you don't want to do and you'll get a little more credibility. So if you walk in with big ego and big dollar signs and with a lot of demands, producers are not even going to engage in that. There's too much that a writer doesn't understand that we're up against, and they need to be respectful of the process, and the producer needs to be respectful of the content from the writer. But at the end of the day, the producer and the studio are in charge of making it come to life and trying to make an audience embrace this new form of your story, which is a film or TV.
Okay, my last question. What will absolutely kill your deal?
It's that. It's changing your mind. It's being greedy. It's having ego. That's going to kill your deal. If you don't, as a writer, you should be open to saying, I'm excited to see where my stories can go. I always say one important thing is you will always have your book. You will always have your original story. No one can ever change that. So that is the great news about when you've written a book and published something. That is yours. Right. What happens in TV or film will be a version, a variant of it. And you should embrace the fact that it will change. It will be interesting. Be excited that people care enough about your story and your characters that they want to see it in another form. Right? Film and TV is very visual. So we're not going to tell the story the same way you would in a book. So just embrace the fact that somebody loves your shit and wants to do it. And I think that's going to be the most rewarding scenario if you can put yourself in a situation of, I'm happy to see my characters get a new life. The one thing that I think is important, people also focus on that will kill the deal, is greed. And if you come in and you expect to make buttloads of money right off the bat, it's just not going to happen. One thing that writers also neglect to realize is that if you allow your book to be turned into film or TV, you will find a whole new audience of people running over to take a look at your book. Because there are many, many people who may have not heard about your book, aren't that big into reading, but you will now be exposed to a whole new audience, possibly international audience, and you will breathe life back into your books, which allow you to have better negotiating terms with your publisher, write your next books. So I'm always like, if you're a writer, keep writing. Let others envision what can happen to your characters and see what happens. Enjoy the ride, Just make sure you're choosing a producer that feels like they understand what you're trying to do,
That's very
and
wise. That's very wise.
the best you can do.
Yeah, I mean, uh, just look at J.K. Rowling. She's mad successful, right? And
Yeah, and I think
she
people
had
always
to
look at
face
that.
so many rejections. Like that
Yeah.
would kill an ordinary person. That would kill all the motivation. But she she did not give up, and here she is today. She's a billionaire.
Yeah, and I think that people also focus on that, thinking that that's how everyone works, and there's many, many, many films that are done by first-time or writer, literary book authors who then get one-picture deals that don't become J.K. Rowling's, and that's still great and exciting for them.
Exactly,
I think it took,
exactly.
yeah. So don't feel like, if you're not J.K. Rowling's, you're not
Yeah,
successful. The point is
yeah,
just the exposure of your book being turned into a film will give your career a boost, will give your writing a boost, and all of that is valuable aside from the money you may make, That's in my opinion less important. If you are a writer and you're passionate about what you do, knowing that people want to continue to share your characters and your stories, I would be proud. I would be excited about that. Just choose a good producer who's going to be as reasonable and close to
yeah,
understanding your storyline as possible, and share that experience. And the next one, you'll make better choices. You'll hone it better. You'll be able to have a little more control. But ultimately, let people have control over what they're good at, so
yeah.
that they can tell their stories.
Yeah, that gives me this thought that of course everybody cannot be J.K. Rowling, but you gotta put in your 100% in your work, because whatever you do, it's not like
Yeah.
you have to be a writer or a producer or an actor. Whether you're Warren Buffett, not everybody can become Warren Buffett. Not everybody can become Jeff Bezos. Not everybody can become Elon Musk. So not everybody can become Christopher Columbus, right? So, but at the end of the day, we gotta give our 100%, and then just see how things work out, right?
Yeah, I agree. And that's. I'm glad you asked the questions about what can kill it, because those are the things that are disappointing. When I see people who, also, I would suggest that you don't just have one book and run around for the next 10 years just selling that.
Yeah.
12 Years a Slave took 12 years to get into production.
Yeah.
If you are a writer, those things can happen. So you should also, like you do, right?
Yeah.
Keep writing, keep working on your craft, keep putting things out that inspire you. And that particular book at some point will find the right producer who believes in it, who thinks there's an audience for it, that the timing is right, and then things might happen. And a lot of Hollywood is timing. What's happening in the marketplace, what's happening in the world.
Exactly.
So you may have a great, 12 Years a Slave. Everyone goes, of course, why wasn't that made immediately? It took a long time, but the time was right. The right people came together. So, my goal, I always tell people, just keep writing, keep doing what you're doing, put those things out there, and at the right time, the right people will find it. And then that way you're not just angry for 5 years while you're trying to get your book turned into a film. You're happy and thrilled when it does.
Yeah.
That's the way I would perceive it.
Yeah, just like how Contagion was not even in the top hundreds, and as soon as COVID came in, it was like 1 or 2. So yeah, that does make sense.
Timing.
So yeah, Harry, once again, I don't want to consume too much of your time. There's a lot of audience that knows you and wants to hear from you. So any message for Screenbench, and we would love to call you once again for your next and upcoming projects, if you like that. And thank you so much for your time. And if there's anything that you would want to address to the world or your audience, please do.
Well, I just want to say thank you for having me on. I love that this topic, talking about writers. I believe that everything starts with writers, the ideas, the concepts, the characters. So that is one of my favorite parts, is in development. So I feel, I would say on that topic, anyone who has a passion for it, keep going, keep writing. Don't get caught up in one film or one story or one book. This is a long haul. This is your craft in your life. So keep working it, and the right people will come out of it. If anyone wants to follow us, @GoodProducer is our handle for Instagram, and we put a lot of announcements on there.
I will put that
Also our
in
website.
the description, video description,
Great.
definitely, so that more people can follow you.
Nice. And we
Yeah.
do,
So
yeah, we do a lot of international filming. Back before COVID, we did a lot of international work, and
yeah.
we've never really done anything specifically with Pakistan. So I think this has been great for me to hear from you and to what the struggles are for the Pakistanis to be able to get the content they're looking for. So
No,
that'd be
it's not
interesting for
just
us to learn.
Pakistan. It's about licensing deals that they make with the content owners, right? So let's say in one country, Channel 4 is airing a show, and in another country, BBC iPlayer is BBC iPlayer is also a UK channel, right? So let's name an American channel, ABC, right? So yeah, that's the thing, basically. The distribution thing. It's not just Pakistan; it's all over the world, because where they find a larger number of viewers, they would definitely put their money over there, right? So that's it. Yeah. So thank you so
It'd
much.
be interesting to find out how they can get more exposure,
Yeah.
for Pakistan to get more access to that kind of stuff, legally and make sure that it's looked at. It's all about finances, right? It's all about
Exactly.
geo-blocking and figuring out how they can make some revenue off of it and,
Exactly.
figuring out the best ways to do it.
Exactly.
But thank you for having me on, Mohir. I really think this was great to chat with you, and I love what you guys do at Screenbench.
Oh, you're so welcome, and I just hope that this interview was not a conventional and boring interview, because I try really hard to not make you guys feel like you're just blabbering.
No, it's fantastic.
I want you guys to bring out what's in your heart and speak to the audience. So yeah, I just hope I was successful with that.
Very much so. I hope you liked the answers. I hope they weren't too long.
No,
I hope that was
no,
helpful.
that was very insightful. They were long but very insightful, and I don't mind
I will
that.
try to make them shorter
No,
next time.
no. I mean, they were complete answers, so I really appreciate it. You want basically rushing, which is great, right? Yeah. So thank
Trying.
thank you so much for your time, and hopefully we'll see you again. And you can always contact me with your upcoming project, and we'll meet each other once again. Goodbye.
I love it. That sounds good. We'll definitely be in touch.
Yeah. Good day.
Thank you. Take care.
Yeah.